Our phone is, the battery is not doing well. So pray for us.
Let us pray. Father God, you're our bright morning star. This morning, our heart's desire for you, Lord. May we tell of your love this morning as we gather for this class today. This morning, we pray that our colleagues will hasten their steps so that we start together. Pray for Dr. Amos as he facilitates the session, that we will learn. We will be ready to learn, we will be attentive, and we will gain on this journey of research. We thank you, Lord, for making it possible that we can do this. As we begin, we pray that your presence will accompany us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. So thank you so much, everyone. And I know it's a chilly morning for some of us. It rained overnight. I don't know where you are tuned in from, how it is for you. But I just want to believe all these are blessings from God, the rains that we've been praying for. Yeah. And an opportunity even to wake up at such a time like this, to learn together. So I want us to quickly recap on the 5-step approach to academic writing. Remember I said this process is iterative. You use scholarly writing, first of all, to find a topic. And then from the topic, you identify a problem. You first of all have to come up with a topic. That topic may not necessarily be refined, but along the way, you will refine this topic. Remember, I said it's iterative, so there is a possibility that even by the time you go to your defense, the thesis proposal, you might be taken back and told, can you revise this topic to read this way? You've collected data. The data you've collected doesn't really add up. You might also be told, go back based on the data that you have presented to us. This is the way your topic should read like. But that does not mean that you go back to the field and collect more data. No, we're just telling you, line up your topic, because this is what your data says. And so this is the best way your topic should look like, or the problem statement, So after you've collected your data, you found out that identified the topic and the appropriate problem statement, you gather more research. And this research that you're going to gather is going to cover the various variables within your problem statement. You have the independent variable, dependent variable, and perhaps moderating variable. And so you need to collect data for all those variables. Now, for each variable, you're asking yourself, how am I going to collect data? Are there tools that I'm going to use to collect data for this variable? Now you go back to literature to find out whether data has been collected regarding concerning that specific variable. And before you leave this place, you're also asking yourself, which theoretical framework am I going to use? You've gathered data again from the 10 journals, 20 journals you've gathered. You probably may have found out that there is one theoretical framework that is common in most of this data or these articles. Maybe it is CBT, attachment theory, maybe it is solution forecast, or you decide you choose your own theoretical framework and specifically look for data on that framework, theoretical framework. Find out whether you can use that framework, theoretical framework for your study, and whether there is enough evidence, enough information. The key thing here is to find out, are there enough journals that I can use in the last 5 years based on this theoretical framework? And then from there, you also need to gather data on data analysis. So you've collected data on independent variable, dependent variable, intervening variable. And then you ask yourself, how am I going to analyze this data? Besides that, you're asking yourself, which methodology am I going to use? Am I going to use quantitative or qualitative or mixed? Now, before you leave that place, you also asking yourself, what population am I going to use? Can I use young couples if it's couples? If you're talking about children, which type of children are you asking? Are you talking about nursery school? Are you talking about primary school? Are you talking about children with learning disabilities? And then you're asking yourself, where am I going to find out these respondents? You have to identify a location. Am I going to have enough sample, representative sample, if you are doing quantitative study? If I'm going to do qualitative, will I be able to get people that I'm going to interview using focus group? Then after that, you present evidence of the research that there is a problem, because you have gathered data, you've analyzed it and present it. And what you present is going to form data for somebody else, and the process goes on back and forth in that order. So I just wanted us to look at that summary so that I can help us see how to move forward from there. Yeah, so I'm not going to read each of this because we did each of these. Seek evidence, we did this. And the evidence is found in the literature review. And then we said, seek out more evidence, explain the evidence. And then the big picture here is, how do you apply this information? By starting asking yourself, what is the overall information? Is it a concept? Is it an idea? Do I want to write on? How can I break down or categorize this information in different parts, the themes, etc. Okay, so, and then we talked about you using the funnel picture, and then on the information, use the I statements. Yeah, so I want now to not briefly, extensively look at the funnel shape. How does it work? How do you use the funnel shape to narrow your findings? Yeah, so this is where we stopped last week. We wanted to start looking at the purple toenail, using this analogy to summarize our findings. So let me see. Any questions so far? Elsie, you joined us, and Judith, you joined us a little bit late after we had already started, but not that late. And Rose. So any question so far? Any question? Elsie, are you awake?
Yes, Mwalimu, I'm awake.
Yeah, because I was expecting a comment from you. Ross, you have enough gadgets to take you through the 2 hours?
I'm not so sure because
Mhm.
my gadgets are not fully charged. I mean, enough. But let's see how far they will take.
Okay, good. Sawa sawa. Okay, so let's move on.
Hello, Malim.
Oh, morning.
Oh, Barbara.
Go on.
Allow me to ask this. It's just
Yes.
a curiosity or a wonder in my head sometimes about research.
Mhm.
If we are to premise everything
Yes.
before starting, you are to before starting, to write, as far as a topic is concerned, you are to query, will I get population, will I get good journals, will I, so if I'll get everything, then I can write. Isn't research sometimes you're supposed to be, get out there, you have an idea, you have a wonder, you have, just get out and see what you will meet and what you will obtain, and you will be able to write from that. So if we are neatening it, that you really have to make sure the house is in order as far as aspects, favorable aspects are concerned, then, don't we sometimes really stage manage the research we do?
Science, if you're doing research from a scientific perspective, Barbara,
Yeah.
that is the way forward, because you cannot argue that there has never been a corona, so you cannot know how to, you don't have literature on corona, but we have had so many other epidemics that can inform our way of doing research, the way of doing experiments. There is a definite procedure of doing research from a scientific perspective. So scientists will follow that rigor to do their work. Now, for us in social humanities, the first question that will be asked, you said there is a problem statement. Show evidence of this problem statement. Show the gap. Can you prove that indeed there is a gap? Now, if you don't have that gap, it becomes very difficult for you to proceed. You may have good ideas, etc., yeah, by observing what is happening, but your mere observation does not warrant you to do research. So you need to have, even if it is not within your context, try to find out, has this problem existed somewhere else? It may not necessarily be in Kenya, it could be in Asia, it could be in Latin America or wherever, but you're asking, or this problem may have been done a long time ago, you want to find out. Yes, the study that was carried out on this issue was done 50 years ago. I want to find out, my argument is, what has changed over the last 50 years? So research, and the other thing that I need to highlight to you, and this one you cannot overlook. You may have data, you may have the research gap, you may have everything in place, but if you don't have people to gather information from, you are as good as starting as afresh. You'll go nowhere, because you need to collect data, and not just enough people, but enough people. If you are using quantitative, find out what is the threshold for me to do quantitative study. If you don't have enough people, then it will force you to do qualitative study using focus groups. Now, even then, it is not even easier. Suppose the people that you want to use are not willing to participate in the study, then where are you going to collect the data from? So you need to be sure that you have all this information in place. It gives you that assurance, it gives you the confidence. Above all, if there is enough literature that has been carried out on your topic, the key thing is enough literature, because for any, whether it is thesis or dissertation, there is a minimum number of words that you are supposed to use. And those words will come nowhere apart from your, you call it what? Literature review. So Barbara, I don't know whether I've answered you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question regarding the same? Nice Kimodo. This must be Eunice. Any question regarding that? Rose Wagata, are you okay?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I know two people in this class have done research before. I know Wadhira has done research and Rose Wagata. Yeah. Just Wadhira in one minute and Rose 1 minute. Does that make sense? Let's start with the Rose.
Oh, yes, it does.
What's very specific for you in what I've just said? Or what did you find to be very, very, very complex regarding data collection? I'm just talking about data collection. Rose.
I think finding the right method that will give you the data you're looking for. You usually struggle a bit between qualitative or quantitative. But once you find what works, then but it's a bit of a struggle. Getting that information and exactly what you need.
Yeah, so quantitative, you also need to find out, okay, I'm going to use quantitative or qualitative, so which methodology? Now, from the methodology, you also want to ask, so how am I going to, which tools am I going to use to collect data? Now, which data analysis method am I going to use? The design, research design, which one am I going to use? Yeah. The good thing is you don't invent any of this. They are already there. Other studies have used. So what you are not going to invent anything. In research, by the way, there isn't anything you are inventing. The only thing you're going to invent here is the data that you're going to collect. Nothing else, because everything else relies on the available data. It is you to man to go into the dirt, to go into and the mine, go deeper the mine and excavate this jewel called literature review and the information you're looking for, so that you can present it to us as novel information that can be added to the existing or the current literature for us to say, yes, this, you are a scholar now. Okay, Wanjohi, you wanted to, not Wanjohi. Yes, Wanjohi, you wanted to say something.
No, I just wanted to add, but you have just mentioned it, but I also wanted to add that from my experience, that it is important to actually be able to have a clear cut on the 4W, the why, what, how, and the how, the 4W and the how, to guide you in measuring the information on the variables of interest. And if the variables of interest are not again clear, they really confuse.
Yeah. Yeah, so you need to identify what is your dependent, independent variable. And then going with that, you're asking, how am I going to collect data for independent variable? How am I going to collect data for the dependent variable? Are these tools that I'm going to use, are they reliable? Are they valid? Are they, you go to confirmability of that if you're using qualitative and so on and so forth. If you're inventing your own, you develop, not invent, develop your own tool to collect data. That means before you go into the field, you need to do pilot study. You need to do a pilot study to find out the veracity, not veracity, the validity and the reliability of that tool. That means, is this tool collecting the data that doing the work that it was designed to do? So you're looking for internal and external validity and all that. So there is a lot that goes on, but as I said, the good thing is that all this information is outside there. You only need to read and find out how can this information fit in my study. How can I make use of this study, the existing information for my study to pass the test? Quite excited. Yeah. So in what field is you studying? Are you studying, or is your study, your research problem located? Yeah. What is your field of study? Marriage and family therapy, counseling psychology, social science, social studies, and whatever. What is your area of domain? What is your education in? What do you do for a living? What do people come to you about for professional advice? What are the areas of specialization that most interest you? Where are the extra connections that can lead to your research topic? How are you willing to change your thinking to be a domain expert? What population do you have access to? What is your theoretical framework? What is your methodology? What kind of population are you going to? And so on. So you're asking these many questions. Barbara, you're asking these many questions before you start. And you need to be able to answer those questions, Barbara. You need to be sure of those questions before you go out into the field. Yeah. Okay, the next thing that we need to pay attention to is what are you considering as your research topic? What are you considering? And I said, many of us, when you join your PhD, you join your master's class, unfortunately, we are not adequately oriented. The orientation is not that good. We need to be telling our students that that's the right time you start identifying the topic of your study. But I'm glad I've been with the PW many times. I've been telling them, by now, if you don't have a research problem, it's not that you are doomed, but you need, it's time now you need to identify one. It's time you need to think of one. It's time you need to develop one. And so it's never too late. Even those of you who have done research and writing and you presented your concept for marking, it's not too late to change. That could just be what you did for that class, but it doesn't harm you to change and do something different. Yeah, as long as you have time, you're motivated, you have the necessary resources, and you have the necessary backing, it's okay. Yeah, you will make it. So you want to study on elephants. The question here is, Kimodo, what do you know about elephants? Eunice Karanja, what do you know about elephants? Maybe she's at work. PW, the closest. Okay, Eunice, tell us.
They are quite huge and they move in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
If you meet one that is on its own, it's quite rogue. It can easily attack you, or it will attack you. Yeah.
Okay. So they move they are a family. We call it a family. They always have a matriarch, the bigger female that is leading the herd. Okay, matriarch. And they know each other very well. Okay, that's it. Okay, what other information do you have, PW, about elephants?
I think I hear they have a very good memory. If they use a certain route, you'll find them, or they have a certain target. You'll find them, looking for that target or using the same route every other time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they are seasonal migrants. They can move. Before Nairobi National Park or Nairobi was built, Nairobi City was built, elephants would move from Amboseli all the way to Nanyuki looking for minerals. And they know, they pass information from the matriarch. An animal living up to 70 years, chances are they would have gone from Nanyuki to Amboseli back and forth many times. And so they pass that information to their generation. Yeah. Anyone else? Very, very destructive animals of the habitat, etc. Okay, now, are all elephants the same across the world? Not really. So this is, now I want you to use this picture of elephants to think of your research question. All these elephants, there is one distinct feature in all these elephants that I'm seeing. From a distance, I don't see any tusks on these elephants. I don't see tusks. Has anyone seen any tusk? This is not a coincidence. Tusks are also a hereditary trait amongst elephants. If an elephant was born from a father and a mother who had very long tusks, chances are, just like human beings, that's going to be passed on to their offspring. So they will have long tusks and so on. So now these are elephants. So let's see, if you are studying on elephants, the question is, what do you hope to accomplish using elephants? You probably are thinking, oh, elephants are endangered. I want to protect them. I want to do a study on how we can protect these endangered species because of their tusks. Elephants are underrepresented. In what way are they underrepresented? Who stated that? Has there been a study that has been done to show that elephants are underrepresented? I think it will be interesting to study elephants. What aspects of elephants will interest your readers? Yes, for you as the researcher, it's going to be interesting. A person reading it, will they find that information to be new to them? In what ways? There's a lot I know about elephants. Can you be specific? I know that my solutions will change the world. In what way? Economically, environmentally, politically, socially, and so on and so forth, and a whole lot more. So those are the questions that Barbara is having to ask herself, yeah? And Barbara is asking, am I the only one not hearing? Are you hearing me clearly, you guys?
Yes, Mwalimu, we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, so Barbara, it could be your phone. Yeah. If everybody else is hearing me clearly, then it is definitely your phone. So you're asking yourself all these questions. Research is all about questions, searching for answers. And answers based on the questions that you have. I repeat, research is about searching for solutions, searching for information, because there is a problem. And that problem is in the form of a research question. So you're always trying to identify the gaps and providing solutions to those gaps. Any step of your research, you must have a question you're asking yourself. Whether it is the level headers, the methodology, you have to ask yourself. You must come up with a question. You must have a good question that you're trying to answer. So let's use this funnel shape. Our goal is to move down from 10,000 meters to one meter. Top-down thinking. How do you go about this top-down thinking in your research? And this is always regarding the literature review. So you're starting from broad to the most specific, the particular area of your study. So number one, we want to lump all these elephants, collect all of them, dump them here, 10,000 meters. What we are saying here is all the elephants are at the 10,000 meter level. We need to start narrowing this down. Imagine at each level of our funnel as a filter. So from the 10,000, we need to go down to 5,000 meters. But all elephants across the world, we put them here. So all the studies that have been done on your specific area are global. There is a study done in America, in Europe, Latin America, in Asia, Africa, East Africa, Kenya, and then from Kenya to your more specific area you want to study. So you're moving from that broad to the narrow. You're talking about couples. Couples, all couples, you put them here. Are you now, you move to 5,000 levels. Are you talking about heterosexual couples? Okay, now, so you go to heterosexual couples. 1,000 meters, you're talking about Christian couples. Yeah, and then at 100 meters, it's not just Christian couples. You're talking about couples in maybe CETAM, in Anglican or urban setting. And then from urban setting, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to interview all couples in urban setting. I need to narrow it down to couples that are newly married. That's 5,000, 1 to 5 years. So you narrow it down from that, yeah, from that big picture to a much manageable picture. So you're not just interviewing any couple. There are those that are married, that have been married for 1 year, and those that have been married for 60 years. So you need to be very specific. Is it what population? Young couples, where? In urban setting, where? Anglican church, where? Who are they heterosexual? Who are they married couples? Sawa sawa. So the same thing to elephants. So you come down here, you're like, okay, Eunice, we have elephants that are Asian elephants and African elephants, very distinct. They are not the same. African elephants, both male and female, have tusks. Their back is not flat. They have bigger ears compared to the Asian elephants. Yeah. Now, when you look at their tail, this one has tassels. This one doesn't have. Yeah. And so even the general demeanor. Now look at the head for the African elephant and the one for the Asian. Asian elephants are smaller, much smaller than African elephants. And so when you talk about elephants, you need to be sure that not all elephants are the same. And then for the Asian elephants, it is only the males that carry tusks. Females don't have tusks, only males for the Asian elephants. Okay, so you move, now you're moving from the 10,000 meters now to the 5,000 meters. All African elephants are at the 5,000 meter level. We need to move to the 1,000 meter level. So now, do you have all African elephants? Are they all the same? No, they're also divided. We also have the savanna and the forest elephants. So what you see in Kenya, these are the savanna elephants. Now you go to Congo Basin, Cameroon, and going to West Africa in the tropical rainforest of the Congo, that's where you find the African forest elephants. We don't have them in Kenya. Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, going down to South Africa, these are the savanna elephants because they roam within the savanna woodlands, savanna grasslands, yeah? And so we want to focus on one of these, not just African elephants, but which type, which species of the African elephant, which type? Is it the forest or the? So we narrow down to the savanna. Yeah. So in Africa, all African savanna elephants are at the 1,000 meter. So we need to move to the 100 meter. Yeah. 100 meter here. Then we move to this. Okay. So what is strange about the savanna elephants, African savanna elephants? Now we are saying African savanna elephants have been identified as the population. So this is where we are. All African savanna elephants in a particular area are at the 100 meters, whether it's Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, South Africa, etc., are all at the 100-meter level. So we want to find out, are we going to carry out a study on all these African savanna elephants? Not necessarily. We have to be very specific. So we narrow down to, these are now the questions. Barbara, we also develop other questions. What is a research gap? A research gap is an unanswered question for your specific topic, using your various variables. It may have been carried elsewhere. That study may have been carried elsewhere, but still a gap if it has not been carried in your specific area using specific population that you are interested in. So it is still an area worthy studying. Okay, so how do we move from here? It is an opportunity to look at a problem in a different way. It is a chance to analyze the problem with a different population, different methodologies, different research designs, yeah, at a different time. Probably this study was done 10 years ago or 5 years ago, yeah, in a different location. Probably it was done in urban setting. You want to do it in a rural setting. You want to compare the findings. In a different church, you want to look at the characteristics, religion, different ages, different academic settings, public schools vis-a-vis private schools, and so on and so forth, boarding and day school. Yeah. You're talking about children raised by single parents vis-a-vis children raised by both parents or blended families, and so on and so forth. That twist, that small aspect, you are comparing children brought up in blended families vis-a-vis those brought up by intact families. That is a new, that study is different from each other. You may have a study that was carried out last year, or two people doing a study from the same school, same classroom, but one is looking at children from blended families and the other one is looking at children from single parents or orphans or intact families. It is allowed because those are two different aspects that you are looking at. It could even be the same blended families, but one is using mixed, or one is using quantitative, the other one is using qualitative method. There's no problem. Yeah. So it is not just a duplication of someone else's study. It is not a petty project, it's a major project. You're going to spend sleepless nights, you're going to cry, you're going to curse your supervisor, you're going to curse your institution for delaying you, etc. But just like any pregnancy, after 9 months, you're going to labor, and you see this bundle of joy, you begin to smile, and you forget the pain you've gone through as you are given your degree on your graduation day. It can be an emotional driven, it must be a fact driven. And that is what just research is all about. It's a fact driven, it's emotion ridden. Yeah. And there are many people that you're going to blame along the way. Sometimes you excuse yourself, yeah, and see only other people as the issue, which is okay. And we've been there. And so we empathize with you when you start blaming others. So identifying the gap, read, and read more. This is just for my sister, is she still here? Barbara. Read. Pius, are you with me? My brother, you are reading, and reading.
Yes, I'm with you.
Reading, and reading. Salome, there is no end to reading. You will just have to read, and reread. Kibui, oh my God, if you think you have read, this is now the time to start reading for your research. Target your search terms. What are your search terms? You need to develop your search terms, and those search terms are the ones that are going to help you come up with the literature review. Search terms can be like you are doing a study on quantitative, using quantitative method, you are looking at blended families. You begin with families. And then you go to blended families. And then you're just not talking about blended families. You're talking about whatever it is, blended families and what? Blended families might be the independent variable. What is the dependent variable? Maybe academic achievement of children from blended families. So children in blended families. And then you look for another term, academic, children, blended families, academics. Yeah. So you are using those key terms to gather data. Then you can go to blended families attachment theory, blended families CBT theory. Now you are looking for a methodology that you're going to use for your study. So it just doesn't come automatically, or it might come automatically based on your search engine or based on your database. So, and so forth, so on and so forth. So not what other researchers document, not what other researchers document as needing additional research. That is the gap. Often noted as suggestions for future research. And this must be done in a very systematic manner. What we are saying here is one peer review article noting the need for future research is not a trend. You need at least 3. The rule here is at least 3 articles. Most of us just come up with, because Amos did a study and said that future researchers may need to, and they did that study in 2021, and you carry it out. Yeah, it's okay, but it could just have been identified by that one person. Is this really a research? Yes, it is. But what we are saying, to make it even a stronger research, have at least 3 articles that have identified this gap. You most likely have a solid problem identified when you have at least 3, because your problem statement must be supported by this. You know, many of you who have been attending some of these concept presentations, and you talk about what? Thesis, proposal, etc. I hope you've been attending. We have one next week for a PhD, and that's the final. I don't know whether you'll be invited, but yes, please don't fail. At this level, never ever fail. Never ever fail. We have one on 3rd May and 4th May. Please don't fail to attend. Endeavor to attend. Yeah, you need to see what others have done. You need to hear the questions that are asked. You need to see how they present their work. Please, please, please don't fail to show up. Look for what is missing in the body of literature. This is before you assume something is missing. Find out, because it is research. Is it really a problem? Research whether it is a problem. You found out, yes, there is a gap, but can you research whether it is a problem? Find out, have other people done this question? Somebody may have identified this gap in 2020. It is within the 5 years, but find out, has any study been carried out using that gap that was identified? So don't you ever assume that you are the first person because a gap was identified in 2020 and you are using that as a gap. You might just be shocked to discover that 5 other studies have used that. It's no longer a gap. What you need to do is to find out now from those other studies that have been done using that gap, what gaps did they identify for future studies? So a gap will lead to another gap, and so on and so forth. So you are always searching for information. Okay, now let's move on here. Ask the hard questions. Elephants, savanna elephants at 1,100 meters. Who cares? Who will care to read this study? What can research addressing the gap help? Do I have now, or can I develop the domain expertise to analyze the problem, or am I going to use other research designs that have been carried out that are available to do this work? Is there enough literature to build a foundation for the research? Barbara, is there enough literature? Kibui, do I have enough literature? To the extent that every claim I make in every paragraph, yeah, this paragraph that has 5 to 6 sentences, I'm making claims, 5 or 6 claims. Am I going to support all those claims by citation? For each claim I make in that paragraph, I must cite it because it's a claim, because it's a research. And that's why you need to do literature review. So for each paragraph, you need to have at least 5 citations. There's no way you can have one paragraph with 1 citation. That's not research. That's not research at your level. At your level, every claim, every suggestion, every sentence must be embedded within literature. So, do I have access to collect data from a sample of the population? Yes. Can this be completed in the time allocated? I have 6 months to do my study. Now, you guys, obviously you cannot, let's not talk about this year, next year. Now, some of you may be beginning to think, I'm graduating next year. I still have 1 year. So you relax, my friend, you don't have enough time. By now, if you want to graduate next year, chances are you should have presented your concept paper, or you should be planning to present your concept paper. Don't freak out if you haven't. Yeah. Now you can always do what? Present a concept paper and be allocated a supervisor. And along the way, the supervisor will help you to frame your work. So don't have to wait to do research and writing. This is the problem that many of you make. Yeah. You can beat the system. If you want to beat the system, just do a concept paper, present it, and as you're doing your research and writing course, your whatever, your statistics, you already have a supervisor allocated to you, and you're moving forward. And so you graduate in good time. So many of you confine yourselves, you must stop this. I mean, you must complete this course in order for you to do this. No, don't do that. Eunice, don't make that mistake. I'm doing some prophecy to some of you. Don't make that mistake. Just present that concept paper the way it is. Confusing as it is. Nobody's going to tell you you've failed. They are going to allocate you a supervisor who will help you frame it, and you start moving, and next year you will graduate. Sure, you will graduate. So don't you worry. Barbara, don't have to worry. I know you told me I've still, no. Come up with a concept paper, Barbara. Pius, develop a concept paper. Pass it. Present it. You'll be given a supervisor. Along the way, you pick the pieces along the way. At least you have a supervisor working with you. And you'll be ahead of your peers. So identify your sample and your problem. So we picked on 100 meters, we picked on African savanna, and these African savanna elephants, this is not, is it manicure or pedicure? Yeah. Jerry, is this pedicure or manicure?
Pedicure.
Pedicure. So these have not been pedicured. This is a really problem. This is a real problem. So we are saying in Kruger National Park, there is a disease outbreak called purple toenail. Yeah. So somebody wants to research on the causes of this purple toenail in Kruger National Park on elephants. So do you see how we moved all the way from 10,000 from general to Asian and African elephants, forest and African savanna elephants, and then we moved to savanna elephants. And now from savanna elephants, we've just singled out sample population. We have the research population and sample population. You've done all that in your class. So sample population of African savanna elephant in Kruger National Park, this is the purple toenails. This is what we are focusing on. You are now at the 1 meter level. This is where your study is going to be carried out. But before you got here, you've talked about elephants, generally speaking about elephants, the need to conserve elephants. You are saying most affected elephants regarding conservation are African because of their their specific ivory tasks. You talk about this before, like in Kenya, 1977, before Jomo Kenyatta banned poaching in Kenya, and it was declared illegal. How many elephants were existing? I have been a tour guide for many years, and so I have all these ideas. I know we had over 170,000 elephants in Kenya before 1970. And 1970, by 1977, there were less than 25,000. You can now ask yourself, where did the 150,000 elephant go to? Poaching. And so that's why they are in Kenya and most African elephants. So right now, the population of elephants in Kenya is around 35,000. So you can imagine what poaching can do. And then the encroachment of the elephant habitat, because as the population grows, people are increasing, and so we need land. So there is the animal human conflict. We're putting pressure on the same valuable resource, land. So they need space, we need space, we need land for agriculture. And that's why conservation becomes important, and so on and so forth. So this is where we are. Any questions so far? What's your comment?
Mwalimu,
Ask.
allow me to diverge a bit and float a question to all of us, because I need help. Waithera needs help. I don't have the discipline of reading, Mwalimu. And I need to be motivated and advised on how to really read. Literature review, articles.
So the question should be, how do the other people go about it?
Yes, that would be good. Yeah, how do they go about it? Are they reading, and how do they go about it? And what is that discipline that they have, that they are able to sit down, research on 1 or 3 articles, sit down and do a thorough literature review? Because I lack that.
Eunice, answer that question.
Create time every day. Set some time to say it is your reading time. It could be 2 hours, but just have the discipline of saying I will be reading between 9 and 11 every night, and that time is set. And for me, that is what has worked. So I have set my time for reading. I don't do other things. That way, I'm able to keep up with my classwork.
Setting time, Eunice, thank you. Setting time to read. But before I get there, how do I get to the interest of reading? I know I'm supposed to be reading, yes, for the purpose of my work, study, but I feel that I also need to have that interest to read.
I think maybe just to echo what Dr. has said, number one, your topic should be something of your own interest. So the fact that it is interesting to you, you will just want to read and research more and find more information. So whatever topic you're choosing, let it be something that you're passionate about. But that is my take. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eunice. Yes, the topic I have is of interest, near to my heart and passionate about, but I need to have the discipline to actually research more on it.
Anybody else?
I think it's you can find out what part of reading you don't like or you're finding difficult in. If probably it's the timing, as my colleague has said, I think that would be helpful. Probably it's the type of books that you are looking for. I think for what has worked for me is I can't read very heavily at home. So I prefer reading in libraries. So I've subscribed to some libraries. And I find it interesting to just look at books that are just newer books. Newer books are lovely. They have more information. They have the latest information. You can also decide to take a break in between that and read something different. I've also found it interesting to meet people in the same field or in a different field that would have the same interest. And they have a lot of information about what I probably am interested in, but are not in the books. So just meeting people from the field that you are researching on would really help a lot. So traveling, taking time to go and go for those expos, go for those seminars, go for those webinars. If you're on social media, you can look for them even outside those social media pages that are of that topic that you are interested in, but from outside Kenya. And they kind of open your eyes to see, is this perhaps something that's going on in Kenya? And then you research kidogo, and see, is it here? How is it being played out in our country or in your region? So being curious, just keeping that childlike curiosity is also quite helpful. You can also carry a notebook in your bag. Sometimes ideas come in when you're doing other things, or the questions that you might have come when you're doing other things, when you're watching TV, or when you are on a matatu and you have a conversation with someone. Then you just write them down and then you research, just part, bit by bit. I hope that's helpful.
Very much so. Who is this, please?
This is Jerry Karaoke.
Jerry Karaoke.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next. Someone else? The last person? Let me see. Elsie, how do you go about that? I like picking on Elsie.
I wonder why. For me, it's I'm planning to befriend the librarian so that I can honestly get more information on how to go about it. That's my strategy right now.
Now, all this that you've said, okay, go on. Judith Kibui.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about having folders of specific topics. Like as you're doing your other work and find articles or journals that are talking about the topic that you're interested in. You can be saving these in a folder where you plan to read them later, if at that point you don't have time to read them. So you can be saving many journals in a folder, which you can go back to. Yes.
Wow. Thank you.
Good. Waithera?
Waithera is the one who had asked the question.
Yeah, so I'm asking, is this helpful?
Very, very, very helpful. I'm glad I asked.
Now, what these people didn't tell you, Waithera, is the fact that you might be struggling with the burnout. Which sucks your energy.
Mm-hmm.
You are literally tired. You need a break. Yeah.
Okay.
And that break can sometimes be very, very difficult. I know from 2014 up to now, I've been in books all through. Now, immediately I completed my dissertation, I had the passion to do 3 studies from it. Be assured by now, or there I've not done any single. Yeah, any single study of that. I start and I end up along the way. But I'm good at doing other things. But when it just comes to sitting down to do another study, oh my God, I just find it so hard. Why? Because my brain somehow has just locked somewhere. I need to unlock it. So I know there could be so many factors. You might have the interest, you might have all these, you might befriend the librarian, but you go to the library, you find that you sit, you've been given books to read, and you just don't find the interest. Yeah, it could just be burnout, yeah? Which means you may just need to take a break, relax. You can take one whole semester break, relax, and then come back later. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to continue every semester, and you are really not progressing. So just taking that break. God even rested on the 7th day. So rest is very, very important. You will not have lost. In fact, you will have gained a lot. So that's what I needed to ask. I mean, to add. But I had a very interesting contribution. Yes, your area of interest. Do you know, much as this is happening with me, give me a student's work who are supposed to be graduating to review their work etc. Oh my God, I do it. I sometimes take the whole day just reviewing it. And I find it quite exciting because it's not my work. I'm doing somebody's work, etc. I'm trying to help them correct here, etc. Because I'm thinking this person needs to graduate. Yeah. And so I don't want it to look like I'm the one blocking them. So I find that I just have that energy to help somebody else. But when it comes to helping myself with my studies, so passion also. What is it that you are passionate about? Yeah. And all our passion, our vision tend to take our time in many ways. Most of the time, it's not time wasted, but time spent. We spend our time where our passion is. So you have to ask yourself, where am I? Where is my passion? What's my ambition? What is taking my time and why? Yeah. So can I distribute that? And so on and so forth, just to add on to the information that most of us, like in Eunice, Elsie, who else, Kibui, and others said, yeah. So on and so forth. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. Good. So who is Galax A12? Galax A12, can you talk to us?
That's me, Rose. I had to get on the phone.
Oh, you changed.
Yes.
Okay, sour. So, okay. So this is where we are now. How do you, after you have identified your sample population and the research gap, how do you develop it? I can see my internet is beginning to be unstable. Did you hear what I said? How do you draft your problem statement? Now, this is one area and one way of doing it. Remember, these are claims that you're making. There is a problem in Kruger National Park regarding conservation of African savanna elephants. I'm just adding these words. There is a problem in the Kenyan schools regarding academic achievement, especially for girl child from blended families. So this one can come right from the cited gap, from the gap that you cited. This is often called the topic sentence, and we'll be looking at that later on. Cite the year. There is a problem in organization. Which organization? Who observed that problem? Who identified that problem? So you write the person, the author. This. Remember, we said one research is not good enough. So we go on and say, despite the efforts that have been done to conserve elephants in Kruger National Park or across Africa or wherever it is you're saying, there are still problems to deal with. So who has said this despite the efforts that have been carried out to conserve elephants? Who did this study? Who observed this? Now, there is a problem. This person said, despite the conservation efforts to mitigate whatever problem it is, current studies show that there is still a problem. So there are two now you already have 3. The first study, second study, fourth study. First, second, and the third study. Okay, so this problem negatively impacts savanna elephants or the victims of the whatever it is that you are doing. Cite the year because give the reasons for that impact. Okay, a possible cause of this problem is identify the possible cause. And then move on here. Perhaps a study which investigates this problem and the organization by a quantitative method could address the situation. Can you imagine, Eunice, if you were like me and you took a snapshot of this, and you organized your research problem statement in this way, nobody will have any problem with you, Eunice. Did you know that, Eunice? Nobody will have any problem because you've fitted in all the details you need. So if I were you, I will just use this format. Yeah. And how many studies have been used here? That's why you'll hear many times somebody like me saying to students, you don't have a research problem. Why? Because you've not done research literature review. I said every sentence, every claim must have, this claim has this citation, this claim has this citation, this claim is supported with this. Now, this claim here has this citation, and this claim here has this, and so this claim has this. So how many citations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In one paragraph, there are 5 citations. This is how research should be done. Kibui, talk to me now. Is that asking too much, Kibui?
No, and it's a learning. There are even 6 in one paragraph.
So when you hear of plagiarism, it's because a student did not do this. Yeah, a student just copy and pasted information without now what we call synthesizing it. This is literature synthesis because these are studies from different individuals. Yeah, synthesis. So let me now show you an example of sample research questions. What causes purple toe syndrome in elephants? Research question number 1. Okay. So now this is the problem statement. If you have to fill it, there is a problem with the purple toe among elephants. Who observed this? Schmidt in 2015 in the Kruger, where? In the Kruger National Park. Okay. Despite the vigilant management of animal care by the park employees and the managers, this is Engelbrecht 2016, this rare condition, that's the purple toe, continues occurring. So the efforts have been done. Somebody did a study on the effort that were done, but the problem continues, it persists. This problem negatively affects the park as the cost of continued isolation of those elephants results in more money for these individual affected elephants. Quarantining, the using quarantine methods so that the disease does not spread to other, and the more they isolate those elephants, the more it's becoming more what expensive. The efforts of translocating them, the efforts of identifying all elephants in general, now they are having to isolate elephants. That becomes expensive. So that is the problem that this person is trying to, Zulu is trying to identify here. Bother 2015 noted the cost for management of single groups of animals, that is those that have been quarantined, was cost prohibitive and led to poorer overall care and the management of all Kruger National Park animals. And besides this, increased occurrences of poaching resulting in increased costs related to game law enforcement. A possible cause of the purple toenail problem may be diet. So now they are trying to financial management. The problem is not isolation. The problem is not, you see, you can identify, this is just building up the case, but now they are narrowing it now to what the problem is. A possible cause of the purple, the question is what causes purple toenail syndrome? That is the problem. That is the research question. It's not the impact of isolating animals. What is the impact of isolating animals in Kruger National Park? It's not what is the financial implication. No, it is not even the impact on management and poaching. It is about the research question. This is now where it is answered. A possible cause of the purple toenail problem may be diet, which may be habits or care of this group of animals in Nkosi 2014. Perhaps now this is the solution. Perhaps a study which investigates diet, habits, and care of these animals by a quantitative methodology approach could remedy the situation. You have clearly stated your problem statement in a way that no one is going to have problems. So even when we look at it, we just smile and say, yes, Eunice knows what she's doing. Kibui has identified the problem. Let's move on. Let's hear what Kibui has to tell us about this. Yeah, because she has Schmidt 1, then she has Engelbrecht 2, then we have Zulu 3, Bother 4, and then we have Nkosi 5. So your research is well stated. Good. Any question? Any question, ladies and gentlemen? Any aha? Rosie? Where are you?
I'm here.
What are you seeing or what are you hearing?
How to frame the problem statement is by focusing on the specific problem you're trying to do research on. And you do that by narrowing down from how other researchers have tried to look at the problem and how it has not, provided solutions, and how your research will provide a solution to the problem you have identified.
Yeah, which is very true what Ross is saying. You're saying there is a problem. The problem where? In Kruger National Park is in South Africa. Now, efforts have been done, but these efforts have proved fruitless. Now, to compound this issue, the cost of looking after these animals has skyrocketed to the extent that it is putting pressure on not only the other specific animals, but the overall care for all the animals within that park. In fact, this has also opened way for poaching because of the divided attention. And so a study should be carried out to find out what is the really cause of this purple toe nail so that we can minimize on the cost. And this study, you also need to identify the methodology. This is one area that most park students don't pay attention to, the last part. I never ever see it. They only say perhaps a study should be carried out to investigate this and that. They never even say how that study. So I'm trying to come up with a group of 12 disciples here, 11 disciples that I'm going to transform and help them see that can we now change the way we do research at Park so that starting from you guys, we have this way of doing, presenting our, you call it what, problem statement. Yeah, can we all agree we will be presenting our problem statement in this manner, and so away from what other people are used to. And that will be so exciting if all of us just decided to do this. That's why I'm saying, take a screenshot of this, use it to develop your research problem. Anyone else? Eunice Karanja, before I go to PW. Nice Kimodo must be working. I don't know. PW, can you rescue her?
I think for me, I like the structure, the flow of the problem statement. You know, that yeah, as Rose has just said, narrowing down. And I see now how the thing that you like talking about is in the conjunction words, or the flow makes it now come from the bigger problem. You know, as you connect the dots. So there's a clear flow. The transitioning, yes. I see how now it's flowing. So I think, yeah, it's very clear when somebody just treats, they can see the problem and how you're trying to mitigate the problem. So yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, those transitions help us to see how well you have done your study, and you've organized your study in such a way that I know this is, how are my thoughts going to flow? Your thoughts are going to flow based on how well you've understood your research, your literature research. And so all these, it is you to organize so that it flows in such a way that somebody's reading from broad to the more specific. And they're not left with no doubt that they can follow. Even from here, with this, somebody will just know the general flow of your whole paper. They can begin to see how the paper is going to end. Can you imagine? They begin to see how you're going to collect your what do you call it? Your data in chapter 2. They'll begin to see how you are going to analyze your data, because you've already said the methodology. Can you imagine? Everything is here. They'll begin to see even the suggestions you're going to make in chapter 4 and chapter 5, because there is a possible cause of this, and that. And you're saying perhaps a study which investigates diet, habits, etc. They have already seen everything right from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Everything is in the problem statement. Hallelujah. And that's why I said research is iterative. Every part of your study informs all other parts. If you see your study, your research as that, my friends, you will have no problem. Oh, you will have no problem. Kibui, can you say amen to that? Yeah. So
I have.
You've said amen, eh?
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. I just want to be sure that we are all together. So slowly. So, or Just give me a minute, guys. Minute. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. So, methodological approach. So let me see how to go about this methodological approach. So, qualitative, if you're going to use, what methodological approach are you going to use for this study? Is it qualitative or quantitative? Chances are elephants are not going to talk, so you can't use qualitative. The question is, can the elephants speak for themselves? No, most problems cannot. So those are the questions you're having to ask yourself again, Barbara. Now, am I going to use interviews, observation, or a phenomenon? Because qualitative uses interviews, it uses observation and a phenomenon. How about quantitative? Yes, you can perform blood tests of African savanna elephants living in the Kruger National Park in South Africa compared to blood tests of other non-affected elephants within the same area and other areas outside the same area, and find out what the problem might be. Document all food intake. You're observing, using observation, you're observing what they eat, how they eat it, what quantity, and contrast it with other elephants. You're asking yourself, is it a specific diet that these animals are eating that might be causing this? Find other means of collecting numbers based on data for assessment and so on. So, as Rosie had said, sometimes it becomes difficult to identify the methodology because you want to know which methodology will be most appropriate for my study. And by the way, the methodology you're going to use depends on how you frame the problem statement. Because if you're using terms like describing, explaining, etc., that is going to be a qualitative study. But if you are using terms like analyzing, exploring, etc., that is quantitative. There are verbs we use for quantitative, and there are verbs we use for qualitative. So anyone reading your research problem from the verbs you've used will definitely know this is going to be quantitative or qualitative methodology. And that also requires you to read, as I'm saying, you can even just Google the verbs for qualitative and the verbs for quantitative, so that when you are framing your research question, you are using the right verbs. So what we are saying here, don't go into minute details that are unnecessary. Avoid the temptation to dig so deep that you begin to focus on the fungus under the one toenail. We are talking about all of them. This could just be, one of the toenails could just be infected with a fungus. So that fungus may not be the cause of all this. So avoid, stay at a research level where research is available, topics relevant, and focus is on your correct target. The correct target is purple toenails, not purple toenail. Their nails purple. So you want to find out. So you're not singling out one toe out of the 10 toes and focus on this. You are not singling out one girl child out of the 20 and begin to focus on that one single child, because that will be an outlier. Yeah. And you might not get the correct data for your study. So focus on that level of your study. Okay. Thank you. Any questions? So we are done with the purple toenail.
Mwalimu?
Yes, dear.
Please elaborate. I didn't get that. I don't focus on one nail. I focus on all the nails. What's that all about?
Yeah, so you're doing a study on girls from blended families. And this single girl, your goal is to look at academic performance of single girls from blended families. The goal is academic performance. The problem is single parents or single parenting households. So you are not going here to begin to talk about abuse, because this one simple girl once came from abused family, is coming from abuse, and you begin to focus on domestic violence when we were talking about academic performance. So that's exactly what I'm saying, yeah? So don't focus on the fungus in one toe at the expense of the other 9 toes. We were looking at all the 10 toes that are purple toenails. Is that okay?
Yes, yes. Now it's very clear. Very clear.
Good. So, module 2.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm wondering when the institution is assigning supervisor for you or for a student, I'm just curious. What do they look for?
The criteria.
Yes, the criteria itself for pairing you up.
Oh, the criteria is based on your area of study. Now, if they look for anything to do with the sex and whatever, they give it to Amos. They say, Amos, you seem to like this area, not to like sex, but like this area, the discipline. And so, can you work with the student? Yeah.
Okay.
And then all of us as lecturers, we also have our own biases. We also have our own preferences. So to be honest with you, if you're carrying out a study on premarital counseling and what, Amos will never even be able to look at that. Because to me, I'm like, so many people have done research on premarital counseling. What value is it going to add on to me? Can you give me a better topic? So I want complicated topics on couples, complicated topics on issues to do with the like infidelity and all that, yeah? Yeah, but you're doing premarital, no. In fact, for premarital, chances are you might not even get a supervisor from our department. We look for a supervisor from maybe theology department, yeah? And we throw you there. Yeah. So in other words, your passion attracts supervisors. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what happens. So that's why some people can stay a long time, because you've not gotten a supervisor. Why? Because like nobody's interested in that. It's like, I don't think I want to work with that. It doesn't add value to me, what and what. By the way, that's true. Yeah. Because we want to, yeah. A supervisor wants to work with you because they also have an interest in that topic.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good. Any other question? There are people, by the way, when you present your topic question, your topics, your concept papers, before you are done, you already have a supervisor. If you didn't know, we even fight over, give it to me. Let me do it. Yeah. So there are some topics that people fight over. Yeah, I want that. I want to work with that student. That's good. That's a good research. I want to find out what we are likely to come up with. Yeah. So okay, Kibui, unasikia hiyo siri zetu za ndani?
Nimesikia.
Umesikia, eh?
And I hope mine will be fought for.
Yeah, pray. As long as Kibui, as long as it's not coming from Kiambu,
oops,
as long as not from premarital, as long as it's not about girls or boys at Kirigiti. That one, first of all, you will be told no. We have done so many studies. In fact, we stopped students from carrying out studies on premarital and Kirigiti, girls or boys. So look for something different. I'm just warning you in advance. Yeah? Yeah, good. That way you'll attract supervisors, because we realized everybody's talking about premarital. And then Kiambu, oh, another area of Kiambu is alcoholism. Yeah, so we said, no. Students, they just need to look for something that is that has not been researched on. Should not always be Kiambu, alcoholism, and what. No, there are other areas where people can focus on. Else Kagembi.
Yes, Mwalimu.
I've not killed your motivation.
Me, I'm not there. Me, I'm elsewhere.
Good. So stay away from that. Yeah.
Mwalimu, I think that's the last topic.
Sorry?
Boys and girls. I didn't get the last topic to avoid boys and girls in what?
At Kirigiti or this Boston, Kamai Boston, or YCTC West committee.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's look at the I statements. So in this module, how many minutes? We have 20 minutes. Let's see. The I statements regarding your problem statements. I will determine that. I'll prove that. In this study, I will show, I will demonstrate, I will argue.
Mwalimu?
Yes?
We can't see. Your screen is not shared.
Oh, my screen went away. Where did it go to us? So when I changed from, when I shifted, yeah, so. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, Mwalimu.
Okay, so I was saying I will determine that, I will prove that, I will show, I will demonstrate, I will argue. So now this is the fifth step of the 5-step, illustrating. Ask yourself, how can I illustrate my concept, claim, argument, idea, or key issue to help the reader better understand? Next, determine your approach. Provide detailed explanations of which approach you're going to use. Provide evidence and analysis. How are you going to analyze your work? Provide examples and provide diagrams, figures, tables, or graphs. That's in chapter 4. That's regarding illustration, because now here we're dealing with data presentation. Yeah, and that's that. Okay, so for a case study, an example. A case study is an in-depth research design that primarily uses qualitative methodology, but sometimes includes quantitative methodology. Remember, case study. A case study is used to examine an identifiable problem confirmed through research. Remember, identifiable problem confirmed through research. Research has been done on this phenomena, and there is a gap that shows indeed there is a problem that is worth studying. This case study is used to investigate an individual. It can be a group of people. That's why we have a case of All Saints Cathedral, a case of this. It can be an organization, a case of Safaricom employees, or an event. So a case study can be an individual or an organization. These case studies are used to mostly answer how and why questions. How do girls from blended families perform academically? Teenage girls, and teenage girls now we are talking about maybe high school. Yeah. Why do girls from these perform this way, that? So those are the why and the how questions. So we look at different types of case studies. Okay. So we have a descriptive case study, and these are the terms that you may have come across. Descriptive, and then we have okay, let me just start with the first one, descriptive, and then we want to explain, and then the questions that we can ask here for descriptive. This type of case study allows the researcher to, number one, investigate a phenomenon from participants' lived experiences in narrative form. Yeah, usually begin with a descriptive explanation of a theory that supports the phenomena being researched. That is the descriptive. It investigates a phenomenon from the participants' lived experiences narrative, how the participants narrate their experience regarding a given issue in their life. It can be marital satisfaction. It can be widowhood. It can be stigmatization. Whatever it is that they are trying to explain, usually begins with a descriptive explanation of a theory that supports the phenomena being researched. And then the questions here: how has the implementation and use of the instructional coaching intervention for elementary teachers impacted students' attitudes towards reading? Then you can answer the how using descriptive. Now you want each one of them to give you their lived experience, because it's the how. So each one of them will give you their own, like the question that our sister Wanjohi asked. Yeah, so that can be a descriptive. And so each one of you was giving her your experiences. So that can be like she was carrying out a descriptive study using case study of an individual, because she was, how do you, and each one of you answered as an individual. Okay, the next one is explanatory. So now explanatory, this type of case study allows the researcher to develop a project or investigate an intervention to identify themes and discover new outcomes. So the questions that are normally asked here are, why do differences exist when implementing the same online reading curriculum in 3 elementary schools? You are giving an explanatory, you are going to explain the differences. In the first school is because of this, that, and that. Whereas the secondary school, on the third school, they have this, and that. That could be contributing to the differences, because school number 1 lacks this, school number 2 has additional this, school number 3 has both this, that, and that. That's why their performance is far much better than the first 2. So you are using explanatory case study. And then the third one is exploratory. Explanatory is different from exploratory. So exploratory study, this type of case study allows the researcher to help define questions or hypotheses. Exploratory, it identifies the boundaries for subsequent research studies.
questions to be asked here will be, what are potential barriers to students' reading success when middle school teachers implement the Ready Reader curriculum online? So that is an exploratory study. Remember, I said these words that you use, whether it is quantitative or qualitative, and especially in chapter 3, you're saying, I'm going to carry out a descriptive study, or this study will be carried out using descriptive, explanatory, or exploratory. This is what we are talking about here. Yeah. So multiple case studies or collective case studies, if you are carrying out such a study. This type of case study allows the researcher to learn about the complexity of an issue. Use purposeful sampling of cases that are tailored to the specific study. It provides a variety of context from different studies to determine a theme or finding from the evidence provided. These are multiple case studies, or there are several. You're combining different case studies. You're combining different populations, or sample population to carry out your study. So here the question is, how are individual school districts addressing students' engagement in an online classroom? This is multiple because you're going to carry out from different school, different districts. You are looking at the approaches, their curricula, etc. And so this forms called multiple case studies, not single. It's not from a single organization, but different organizations or different individuals who have different characteristics. Whereas the other ones, chances are they may not necessarily be homogeneous, but you can begin to think that probably it's one individual or from one institution. So if it is one institution, that means that institution, there's chances are the reason why you are taking them from one institution is because that one institution has similar characteristics. So chances are the respondents from that particular institution are most likely going to be representative of that institution. But if you are carrying these studies from Kiambu, from Nairobi, from Kajiado, the characteristics are different. First of all, Kiambu, the population, much as it is like Nairobi, chances are a majority of them will be from one ethnic group. You go to Kajiado, the assumption here is the population of Kajiado, majority of them are most likely going to come from a different ethnic group. But Nairobi County is a cosmopolitan, and so chances are you'll have multiple. You can carry multiple case studies in Nairobi. But if you went to a place like Narok, you're going to Kilifi, you're going to Murang'a, that's different. Yeah. So it all depends on the type of study you're carrying, where you're carrying out that study. And that's why Barbara now comes in. Her question comes in, Barbara. You need to have all these details, my sister. There are no two ways about it. Yeah. You need to carry out your study in advance to ask yourself, what am I doing? And then intrinsic. We are looking at intrinsic case study. What do we mean by this? Yeah. So this type of case study allows the researcher to understand a specific case thoroughly. Understand a specific case through a primarily descriptive exploration. Now it combines descriptive and exploratory. So here we're saying through a primarily descriptive exploration. So it doesn't have a set of expectations, but rather focus is on gaining a better understanding of the case. It's intrinsic, inward. How does students' familiar background influence a teacher's ability to provide a meaningful instruction? That is an intrinsic. Yeah. So now you will be looking at the dynamics of this student, studying this student to find out intrinsically, yeah, how is their familial background, not family, familial background influence their teacher's ability to provide meaningful instructions to each one of them. And then finally, instrumental. This type of case study allows the researcher to provide information for further understanding of a phenomenon, issue, or a problem. It aims to focus on the outcome or results instead of the research topic. Aim to focus on the outcome or results instead of the research topic. So the question here is how a rural school district integration of reward system maximized students' engagement. Now, and another case that Wanjohi, the question that Wanjohi asked, how can I do what? Improve on my reading? Because oftentimes I find myself feeling demotivated, not really passionate, not strong enough. Yeah. So now we can maybe do an instrumental study to find out how can we help Wanjohi to maximize her engagement in research. That's an instrumental study because it seeks to provide information for further understanding of a phenomenon. She wanted to find out your lived experience on this issue. So for her, the problem is not the problem statement, but the outcome. Her aim is to focus on the outcome results instead of the research topic. Is like, what do you do? The outcome, not what is it that you're doing, but how do you? What is the outcome? Help me know, how do you study? So all these are key issues that you need to pay attention to. But oftentimes, many of you use descriptive studies. Many of you, without even knowing that we also have exploratory study. We have, so exploratory study mixed, intrinsic and instrumental. So you can come up with something very, very strange. And by the way, was it Kibui or Njeri who asked, how do you select? Was it Njeri? How do lecturers, supervisors? Njeri, was it you? Njeri Kariuki. So Njeri Kariuki, I might also add here and tell you reasons why some people, students, it's also because of the methodology. Now, amongst us, we realize somebody like Mwalim Anne Wambugu, Mwalim Elizabeth Kamau, those are the two guys, the gurus in our department that I know. Kwanza Mwalim Anne, she likes phenomenological studies. And Elizabeth, because that's what they did for their PhD. Now, for people like us, the rest of us, we value what? Quantitative, we like numbers. So for me to work with you on qualitative study, it will take the miracle of Jesus Christ for me to do that. Any quantitative study, so we all also have our own preferences. I'm good at this. I'm not good at identifying themes. For me, it is a lot of work and doing this. How do you triangulate these results and this, that, and that? I honestly don't have that time. So for me, I want to deal with the numbers. Kagimbi, you're doing quantitative study. You approach me and say, yes, come baby, come, bring it, let's do it together. Yeah, but qualitative, I tell you, you can pray, go to Mwalim Anne, Mwalim Elizabeth, they might help you. to do that. So those are some of the other things that we pay attention to. So, any other question? Any comment? We have 4 minutes. I see I can start something here. Judith. Hey,
Yes,
Salome.
yes.
Umenyamaza.
Nilikuwa naongea tu.
Ongea, tuendelea tu kuongea. Salome, na wewe hujasema chochote mwanadada.
Mwalimu, I'm here, I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm learning a lot.
Okay. Karibu sana. And then who
Asante.
else? Rose, you managed to stay through, thank God. That's good.
Yeah, I have a person who likes to charge the power banks in my house. So I managed to find one.
Yeah,
Keep
that's
me
good.
going.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So, Eunice ndio hajaongea. Of all the people, Eunice Kamodo. I know she talked at the beginning. Okay, so let me just introduce something. Dogo.
I'm here, Mwalimu.
Yes. What's your comment?
I've been listening. I'm liking what you're teaching. I was a bit on the road, that is why I wasn't speaking, but we are good to go.
Okay. Good. So let's now introduce something here. Writing guidelines. There's this word anthropomorphism. Anthro to mean animals. So here, avoid anthropomorphism as you do your study. That is inaccurately, incorrectly, wrongly attributing human characteristics to animals or inanimate objects in writing. That this research will look at, surely. But that is what we do. Yet we're saying that is anthropomorphism. This research found out. Does research find out or researchers? Have you ever thought about that? Oh, this study found out. The study outcomes shows that is different from this study found out. But sometimes we let that pass. But in serious writing, we are asked to avoid anthropomorphism in study. And then capitalization. Learn how to capitalize and spell words in APA style, including how to spell and capitalize words on a case-by-case basis, as well as how to implement the title, case, and sentences correctly. Yeah. So for instance, all headers, the keywords in all your headers must start with capital letters. And we look, Barbara is the one who asked me last week about the 5-level headers. And I hope you remember Barbara. And we briefly looked at this, how to capitalize each keyword in your headers, whether it's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. And then clarity. Learn how to write precisely and clearly, including how to make good word choices, the transitions, punctuations. It is avoid colloquialism and jargon. Make a logical comparisons and keep attributions clear. So use jargon, the use of jargon, cliches, and what, avoid it. Okay. Conciseness. Learn how to write concisely, including how to avoid wordness and redundancy, and select appropriate length for sentences and paragraphs.
a page should have at least 3 paragraphs. A page must have at least 3 paragraphs if you're going to write 5 to 6 sentences. If you're writing 6 sentences, chances are your paragraphs will flow to the next page. That's not a big problem, but don't write long. If a sentence is more than three lines, then that sentence is too long, it's too wordy. A sentence should be 1.5 to 2 lines. And that sentence should contain only one idea. The same thing to a paragraph. And we'll be looking at paragraphs and sentences as a topic. So keep it simple. Continuity. Learn how to learn how to create continuity in the presentation of your ideas through the use of punctuation and transitional words. And this is where my sister PW was talking about, Patricia, when she was talking about the problem statement. Now I see what you've been talking about, transitions and etc. This is what we call it continuity. Your information flows in a certain way, certain predictable way that makes sense to the reader. It is flowing from the broad to the more specific. So we are using the punctuations and transitional words are used appropriately. Okay. Disability. Learn how to write about people with disabilities without bias. So don't say the disabled. Nowadays they're saying the differently abled, including how to implement general principles of language use and what terms to use or avoid. Gender. I'm just rushing because these are very short. In 3 minutes I'll be done. And learn how to write about gender without bias, including how to avoid gender stereotypes, use gender neutral pronouns, and refer to transgender individuals. By the way, did you know nowadays we don't use this in a sentence? If you want to refer to male or female, so before we use he or she, this belongs, he or she said, or his stroke has. So instead of these, you know what we use nowadays? Can anyone guess?
They, them.
Good. They, not them and their. They and their. Because this is possessive. This is possessive. So you don't say his or her, you say their. He or she, they. So you don't have to write he or she said. No, say they. Eunice, are you getting that? This is how you write in APS 7th edition. So you don't avoid this thing like he or she. If you do not know, if you're trying to say both male or female, he or she, or if you're saying his or no, just say he, I mean they or their. And move on. Replace it. That's the proper gender pronouns. Okay. And then numerals. Learn how to use numerals and how to use words when writing about numbers in the text, including how and when to combine the two. So in APS 7th edition, when you are writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you spell. So you write 1 to 9. You write it this way. But when it comes to 10 to infinite, you write Arabic. 13, 104, 115, a million, 1,000, etc. But 1 to 9, you have to spell it. Yeah, 1 person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, there is always a rule when you are talking about distance, so you don't write 1 kilometer.
you write 1 kilometer, you write 1 meter, you write 1 foot, you write degrees, etc. There are exceptions. When you're talking about ages, you're talking about temperature, we will look at that. Yeah. It becomes tricky when you are reporting using this. So you need to know when to write, to spell, and when to write it in Arabic. Okay. So learn how to use numerals and how to use words when writing. Okay. And then presenting statistics, we will start from there because this is quite lengthy. I want to finish today. So let me start from presenting statistics, and this is where now tunaanzia na kizungumkuti. So is that okay? Can we stop here?
Yes, that's okay.
Yep. So God willing, let's meet. Oh, next Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be which day? There is a let me see. Kuna siku yenye tuko na Tuesday. Oh, Wednesday will be 5th. That will be okay. I'm looking at him. Oh yeah, that's when we have. But I think maybe this will start by our class starts at 7. I know we have dissertations starting on Wednesday, 3rd and 4th. So, and Eunice being an early riser. Can we start at 6:30? We end by 8 so that we have enough time now to log into dissertations and thesis from 9. Will that be okay?
Yes.
You remind
That's
us.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You remind us we are logging in at 6:30. So that by 8:30 we are done, because my student is doing is defending his work. Emmanuel Gishar will be defending his work on Wednesday at 9. So I need to be there and support him. Good. Thank you so much. Have a very blessed day. For those of you who have not sent in your contribution, you are free now to do it at your free time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Unless there's any question.
Thank you, Mwalimu.
Yeah. Mwalimu, which contribution, financial or ideas?
Both.
Okay.
Finances, you send it to my M-Pesa number.
And ideas?
Ideas you send to the group. Don't send the money to the group. Money, send it to me. The ideas, send them to the group.
I was just curious.
You know you're teasing me. Okay. Bless you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mwalimu.